Welcome to another Dead by Daylight review. Um, a little bit of good news, a little bit of bad news. VR stream, for whatever reason, my card keeps getting declined by my security system, and I don't understand why. Well, I mean, I tried to use G2A, which gives you game keys to buy some VR games for like half price. Which generally isn't the problem in buying games from G2A. They're a credible source and all of that, and there hasn't been any issues. But for whatever reason, when I try to download any games from there, it declines my card. Because I mean, I would rather spend, 20 bucks as opposed to 40 bucks, you know, to get specific VR games. But for whatever reason, my card's been declined for the 20 bucks. I even tried to test it and make a simple purchase on another website, and it's declining it too. So, for whatever reason, something is holding up my card, and I hope it's not from the Amazon representatives doing something fucking stupid or something like that. But it says it keeps triggering their security on G2A, and it keeps declining my card. And I don't understand why, because I had no issues with anything else off of Amazon. So, I don't know. Um, so that's gonna have to be put on hold for a little bit of time. The game I decided I was gonna get is the what is it? I always want to say The Last of Us. It's uh the zombie series with Rick Grimes and all of that. That newest VR game is what I was going to get. The Walking Dead, that's what it's called. The Walking Dead VR game. I was like, nah, anywhere from 10 to 20 hours worth of gameplay there. I also looked at Boneworks, but I figured The Walking Dead would be better. So that's like 10 to 20 hours of gameplay there that I could just record as I played, and everything would be cool for the most part. So that's kind of what I decided on. I'm too out of shape for Beat Saber. Boneworks has a significant amount of more hours of gameplay. However, it also cost about a little bit more. But, this is a new VR, so I'm expecting to get motion sick and having to take breaks and everything like that. So probably won't be playing more than half an hour a day unless I just adapt to it instantaneously. So I figured if it lasts about, 16 to 20 hours at hour play sessions, that's 20 episodes, which basically covers a month worth of play. And I figured that would be way more than enough that's needed to fill that particular time slot. So that's what I went with. Anybody has any complaints, I ain't bought the game yet, let me know. Say, oh, well, that game's, a demo, it's not complete, or it's broken, or it's glitchy, or something else. Feel free to let me know in the comments, and I'll see if I can switch over to Boneworks or some other game that you suggest to me that you'd like to see me to play. I am open for negotiation. Anyway, uh, days ago, aka February 28th, I posted something saying I'd like to see a special animation or a minor buff or something that occurs when Cyclops hooks a survivor with a tape on them, even if it's only included on an add-on. It's free real estate. I get a comment by IW Freak saying I don't think it would be a great idea balance-wise. What does a special animation have to do with anything balance wise? What does including it in an add on have to do with anything balance wise? So already you're giving me a dumbass feedback and a dumbass comment. Like, really? Like that's what we're going with right now? It's like, bro, really? At least read the or what I'm putting up in my statement. Don't just read the main topic. The main topic's there to pull you, like anybody from a news story. They put up a main topic just to get the discussions going. And if you read the article, what's written beneath it, you get the actual story. And like any other mediocre dumbass, he just came in after reading that, typed in a comment that made no fucking sense, and went on his day. I'd prefer you not comment at all because you obviously didn't read what I wrote. Literally started off with, I'd like to see a special animation or a minor buff. Minor. Minor buff or special animation. Even if it's only included in an add-on. What the hell do you mean it's not going to be a good idea balance wise? If I could delete your comment, I sure as hell would. Because your comment's fucking absolutely positively fucking stupid. I don't think it'd be a good idea balance wise. What, an animation? How does an animation break balancing? How does a minor buff break balancing? There's a reason why I put that in the words that I did. I am already happy they haven't added something for pig for hooking survivors with a bear trap on their head. What the fuck does the pig have to do with Sadako? The pig has to down a survivor and put a trap on the survivor, which is a forced action after they're downed. What the fuck does that have to do with a survivor that either starts with a tape in their pocket but played in an add-on, based off an add-on, or a survivor that purposely takes the tape out of the CD and puts it, or on the TV and puts it on their person? Those are two completely different scenarios. Yes, Amanda has, or the pig has, an add-on that makes you start with a reverse bear trap on. It's completely fucking useless because once the survivors take the bear traps off, they're no longer have any use. It's essentially the same as running a corrupt intervention. Why not just run corrupt intervention and keep your bear traps for later on? Now you have, if you're running a specific build, like, you know, like a Hex build or something like that, and your bear traps are relevant for your build, then by all means start them with it on there, so you don't have to run corrupt intervention to try to push survivors off of generators. But the thing is, there's 4 survivors and there's 4 boxes, so any boxes that are near a survivor, one's going to do a generator, while the other one goes to the box. Or they're going to complete the generator, then go to a box, because the traps don't start active until the generator gets completed. 2 completely different things. A pig hooking a survivor, I mean, fits Amanda perfectly, because she's the unfair Jigsaw. Even if you complete the game, she generally rigs it to where you die anyway. That's her forte. That's completely different from a Sadako getting a minor buff. Like, you hook somebody with on a hook, for example, a 1% haste status effect for a couple of seconds, just to get you moving or something. That's a minor buff. It's not really significant to the game, but it rewards you for hooking a survivor that keeps a tape on them. Anything like that. Minor buff. And what the hell does a special animation have to do anything that has to do with balance wise? That just makes me shake my head. And it's like, bro, you didn't even read what the hell I put in the actual, I was going to say article, and the actual post. But not only that, you try to force your own agenda into my post by saying add-ons for effects while holding a tape would be okay in my book, though. Who gives a fuck what you want in your book? Who cares what you think? Make your own post. Don't try to push your agenda in my post. That's a scumbag. Then he goes on to say maybe the ore of the TV survivors have to go to gets another color for the killer. I don't know. That would be overbearing. Maybe increase or decrease meter buildup based on distance to TV or killer. So you spent more time putting your own agenda into my post as opposed to commenting on what I said. This is the type of shit that I wish people would just shut the hell up and move on. One, what does a special animation have to do with balance? Two, I said minor buff. And even suggested it be part of an add-on. Hello, Galanonim. And then three, are you trying to force your own ideas in my particular what do you say? Overbearing? You have somebody spend more time dating. Whoops. Definitely hook up my new keyboard today. Talking about James dating and of and I think that's fair. What does a special animation have to do with game balance? I said minor buff and even suggested being part of an add-on, which is more than balanced and fair. And then three, because the guy wrote more things than he actually put in his reply to me. That's shameful. I hate when people do that. So, yes, because this is my post, I'm going to rebuff him. I'm not going to be nice about it. Literally, special animation, minor buff, when Sadako hooks a survivor with a tape on them. Even if it's only included in an add-on, it's free real estate, which it is. That's something that they haven't did. If Sadako hooks you and you have a tape on you, a special animation could occur. That's an animation that they could add in. It could up the value of the entire thing. That's something that either they didn't do purposely or something that was overlooked. Who knows? They went all out with their budget to make all of these custom animations look cool. Why not keep pushing the envelope and keep updating it and keep making it more and more amazing? Again, minor buff. The whole point of there is the word minor. That minor could be a 1% speed increase for 5 seconds. Minor could be anything. There's nothing major. Minor generally doesn't affect the game that much. You know, hooking somebody with a tape the next time you vault or break a pallet or something is like 2% faster. Minor buff. It's just an edge that you get for hooking somebody who has a tape. For somebody to not even read this particular post, just to read the title, nobody actually read the actual post, and then to say that it's not a good idea balance wise. Guy, do you not know who I am and what I do? You're gonna really throw out the word balance wise without even understanding what I'm trying to tell you. It's like the Galanonim incident when he was trying to talk about his hook extending or time perk for the hooks. And people just didn't take the time to understand what was going on. And they just kept pushing and kept pushing and kept pushing. It's like, hey, if you pay attention to what, you know, is there, you would understand what's going on. Galanonim incident. Yep. That's what it's been named now. That's those were dark times, huh? And I just couldn't believe it. I hopped on the post. I looked at it for a little bit. I figured out what you were trying to do, and I assessed the situation through critical thinking. You didn't even have to tell me what the perk did or the differences, because I understood and I looked at it from both ways. Everybody else just went in, looked at what you said, read the comments, upvoted the first thing that went, and then they just kind of sent it. And I'm like, no, guys, please. um, let's see. I'm not doing Ryan the NCR's post and anything like that. One, there's an excessive amount of them. Two, they're just stolen or perks just combined together from the base game. Killer, the Dark Nut. Why does that sound specifically sexual? The Dark Nut. Height, tall. Movement speed 4.6, tear radius 32 meters. Wait, the tear radius is 32 meters per second. Movement speed is just 4.6 of no unit, and the tear radius apparently moves at meters per second. Now that is a special tear radius. That would be interesting to have a tear radius that moves across the map at all times, so you never know the location of the killer. Whichever way you're looking, the tear radius just shoots off in the distance. It'd be very fast moving at 32 meters per second, but would be interesting. All jokes aside, this is a very short post. Um, hey, I don't think Mandy can clap you if you put a video in. This might be the loophole. She just said all pictures and all of that need to have the copyright, but if it's a video, they can't clap this, right? You don't need to cite your sources for a video, because if you click on it, it takes you to the video. I think this guy's actually smarter than he seems. Take that, Mandy. No more innocent people getting clapped for using images. We're all posting videos now that you can click on, it takes you to the original source. The Dark Nut power is Insecticon. I'm gonna Insecticon this. Never mind. The the DN may be well known for sword skills, but be on alert with their power, Insecticon. While in chase, the Dark Nut can swipe at the air and summon a swarm of bugs that'll fly at you, and after 3 hits from the swipe, If caught in the path, you will be injured from the swarm. So it's like Bubba's chainsaw, except that it has to hit you 3 times. Interesting. The bugs will fly the same range as large as his tail. So there's a 32-meter range. How wide is it though? Because if I go by the size of his actual sword, come on, you start. The size of his sword and the swipe that this thing has, Jesus Christ, that's a heck of a radius. 32 meters by that huge swipe. I don't know if that's avoidable, honestly. The bugs will fly the same. Yeah, I just read that. Any survivor caught in their path will have a 6% penalty and repair and healing progression. I mean, even 10% in repair is an extra 8 seconds, so 6%, you're looking at like, what, 5 seconds? Negligible. Healing wise, even 10% is 1.6 seconds, so half of that would be like, what, 0.9? Maybe a second extra. Negligible, still as well. The Dark Nut can also turn itself into bugs, do a small teleport over vaults and pallets and breakable walls. Doesn't break pallets and walls. That's a terrible idea. If he doesn't break pallets and walls, and instead of breaking them has to be stuck in an animation to go through them, I guarantee you that the survivors are just going to, one, FOV tech you as you're going through the wall. AKA, as you're phasing through being bugs, they're just going to crouch on the other side of the door. You're going to phase through said door. As soon as you get through, you're not going to know where that survivor is because they're going to be hard pressed against the door and your animation's going to put you past them. I doubt very many killers are going to turn around and look for that. The second problem you're going to have, if you can't break breakable, if you can't break pallets and you can't break walls, you're going to have the issue of carrying survivors through area to where, you know, you specifically have to break breakable walls. You're not going to be able to. So if you're going to do that, you're going to have to somehow make it to where, while carrying a survivor, you can still go through said walls. Which means you're going to have to write a code that the survivor technically will have no clip while in this killer's arms. Doing that opens code up for exploiters to come in and activate that no clip at any time, which should allow them to walk through walls and do things like that. So then you have to design a system around exploiters and things like that, because now you're going to have no clipping exploiters running through the map and leaving the match as soon as it starts. And that's going to cause a whole bunch of other things, because they're going to have to design a system to where specific objects can always be passed through based off of whether it's a killer, survivor, or anything like that, because you have to have Nurse, for example, still able to go through things, but you don't want that particular killer, or a survivor in this case, to be able to go through anything. Not to mention the fact that if you're phasing through a pallet with a survivor and another survivor drops a pallet on you to stun you, if that is a possibility and you drop the survivor inside of a box or something and they get stuck, that's going to create an issue that you're going to have to code against. And trust me, during the PTB, people are going to be finding issues with that particular system left and right. This is why one of the reasons I always say do not try and change core mechanics of the game, because you're going to be looking at months and months and months and months of fixing problems that arise. And you know how the Dead by Daylight community is when they find glitches and problems. They gotta put it out for the world to see. So, yeah. I don't know about letting him go through walls and all of that. Not to mention areas like, for example, Dead Dog Saloon. You have that upstairs area in the saloon that has the breakable walls, and the only way into that area is by breaking a breakable wall or hopping through the window. If your killer can't break breakable walls, there's no way to hook a survivor that goes into that room. So the only option you have is to let them bleed out unless they're running, like no mither or something like that that allows them to get up an infinite amount of times. Then you have to babysit them the entire time and keep downing them when they get back up. But I mean, anybody running no mither is definitely going to run soul guard and everything like that. So, you know, it's very exploitable having something like that. Yes, why the only reason it works on a killer is something like the nurse, that, for example, can teleport in and out, but still break the walls as she sees fit. Now, I don't see anything wrong with him having the ability to phase through walls, like he vaults windows and everything like that. Obviously, he's going to be going through a solid surface, like a breakable door or pallet. So he should be slower, but I don't see the pallet or wall or all of that, exploding after he goes through it being an issue. Because all you have here is essentially a super nerfed Bubba. It's no longer a one hit down or anything like that. Yes, you have range, but you still have to hit them with all three attacks. Now, to secure this, you're obviously going to have to add in more detail, make it to where there's slowdown and all that when you're winding up your attack. Put a cooldown on it, make the wind time longer, things like that, so the survivor actually stands a chance to escape. And then all of that's going to have to be balanced afterwards through public test beta, and it's going to be a very big chore trying to find a balance on this. But your killer isn't going to have any type of map pressure, gen pressure, and it's not even going to be able to secure downs in the chase. So you essentially just have a mouse one killer that's good in straightaways. Because it doesn't go through walls or anything like that. And then the passive he has is any pallets or anything that's dropped on him, he can phase through them. Albeit, we should make it at a decreased amount of speed that he phases through them, but faster than the kick animation and the pallets or whatever, blow up or get destroyed as you're doing it. Can even make it to where there's an add-on that makes it to where any survivor near that pallet that you phase through might take damage or have something negative happen to them. Let's see. Perks. Hex Brutality. Any breakable walls or pallets nearby 15 meters will break if you get hit with a basic attack. We're talking about the killer, right? Because you said the words tear radius and any other survivor caught in the path. Where? What? Any breakable walls or pallets nearby 15 meters will break if you get hit with a basic attack. The killer can't be hit with a basic attack. Because you're thinking about like decisive or, a pallet stun or something like that. Just blowing up every pallet in the area within 15 meters. Because there's no way you're going to be able to blow up every pallet on the map by hitting somebody with a basic attack. That's absurd. There's already a perk that locks pallets from being thrown down after you hit somebody with a basic attack. There's no need to buff that perk and then make it another perk. Vice versa, there's also the spirit perk, which blows up pallets when you get stunned with them. So there's already perks designed around pallet breaks and things like that. The only way this would make sense and have any type of use is if it's on like a decisive strike or a pallet stun, which I mean, it's arguable if it'd work on a pallet stun, but decisive strike or head on or anything like that, that's triggerable by a survivor that is an attack on a killer, in parentheses, that would destroy breakable walls and pallets. That's the only way that type of scenario would fly through in this particular situation. So, I get a decisive on you, and you say, every pallet and breakable wall within 15 meters is just went down. Good luck. Dash. You can't. Anyway. Why would you start this with anyway, gens? Dash. Gens that get repaired, the killer will get 3% speed increase for 30 seconds. Like, this is something that's like, it's a minor speed increase that happens for a large amount of time. It's not a very good thing to do. I mean, 3% is very low, and for the most part, not very good. But I mean, killer is faster than survivor by base. So it is very significant for this situation, especially lasting for 30 seconds. You're in the Michael Myers, 60 seconds of tier 3 type thing. You're essentially making it to where it's reduced speed, but it's activated anytime a gem gets repaired. So it's pretty much you're going to get 5 activations unless you take all the survivors out before then. At the end of the game, no add plus this 3% speed increase for 30 seconds would be absolutely positively disgusting, especially with other speed perks, which is what makes this really not that great. It's also bad because perks like Bitter Murmur and things like that exist. Imagine Bitter Murmur for the 5 seconds or 10 seconds at the end with a speed increase with no at and everything else. Just killer zooming over and downing you after you do a generator. But I'm not seeing really any usability from this particular perk. If you want to keep it at the 3% speed and all of that, you definitely don't need 30 seconds. Let's go and do the math, which I guarantee you they didn't do. 3% of 4.6 is equal to 0.138. 0.138 times 30 is equal to, you would get an extra 4.17 meters throughout that entire 30 seconds. So you would go an extra 4 meters, which is a little bit over 1 second of survivor running time throughout that entire 30 seconds. So it's weak by itself, but if you put that in with other haste status effects like NOAD and whatever the spider looking perk is, because I don't remember what it's called, and things like that, you end up having issues, balance breaking, things like that. Scorch hook. Defense. After hooking a survivor, any gens that are being repaired will be blocked by the entity for 20 seconds. There's already a perk that does that, and I'm pretty sure it's 16 seconds. You've got a multitude of perks that actually knock survivors off gens or blocks gens. Because you do have Eruption, you have Ghost Faces perk, albeit Ghost Faces, it's people that aren't working on generators. But if you pair that with other things, you know, if you have like a Jolt and then Ghost Faces perk, you can combine them together. There's all kinds of different combinations and perks that force survivors off generators or decreases generators or anything of that nature. Alright. Perk ID. Nope. I have some ideas for 3 new killers. Long as they're all in one post, fine. 13 Ghost. That's an old movie. The Jackal. Another old movie. I actually would be very interesting to see him. Because, I mean, it's kind of a mix of Pinhead and the Doctor. And no, I'm not saying it because he's black. But it's kind of a mix between Pinhead and Doctor. And I don't remember this guy. The Juggernaut. I don't remember this guy. He don't really stand out or anything. I definitely wouldn't recommend him. But these two, I could see. Even though this one looks like he just has a reverse bear trap on that's square, like a saw trap. And he looks kind of like a Cenobite. But, you know, I never played Zelda. I don't know if that applies to Western Europe too, but in Eastern Europe, Zelda isn't really popular. I mean, I played Zelda, but I mean, super popular in America, obviously. I've played quite a few Zelda games. It's taboo for me to say this, but I wasn't too heavily into them as well. Like, I beat Ocarina of Time. I went over to a friend's house and we played Majora's Mask. You know, things like that. And I've went to different friends' houses to essentially beat Zeldas with them. And I only beat the Zelda games because my friends owned them. That's not something I went to my mom and I was like, hey, Zelda, please buy me Zelda. Zelda's such a cool game. I'm like, no. And I would the only reason I beat Ocarina of Time is because I borrowed that game from a friend. He let me borrow it. I took it home, I beat it, and I gave it back to him. So if he wouldn't have let me borrow it, or if I'd ever met that particular person, I wouldn't have ever played any of the Zelda games. So I'm kind of always on the fence when it comes to like super popular games, especially that happen in America. Because I mean, they don't really interest me. And people will be like, what? That's a classic. That should have been your childhood. It was super popular and all that. And I'm like, I guess I'm just an anti popular person or something, I don't know. I've played them, but I mean, they aren't like significantly standing out to me the where I'm like, yes, I would definitely, if somebody gave me the option to play them, I would throw it in and I would play it again anytime. So I kinda understand when it comes to Zelda not being popular over in Europe and everything like that. But it's very taboo in America. If somebody's like, "Oh yeah, Zelda," you just kind of smile, shake your head, and say, "Yeah, Zelda, good game. Yeah, yeah." Because if not, they look at you like you've killed a dog in front of them or something. You don't like Zelda? Are you even human? And like, it just wasn't my cup of tea, guys. I'd rather play Super Smash Brothers. That's just me. Another Five Nights at Freddy's post. Let's see who it is before I discount it. Who would I guess? It's William Afton being another Springtrap. I gave it a chance. It could have picked anybody. It's always Springtrap. Or it's always William Afton if you want to be specific about it. Chapter idea: Mythological Trial. New killer, the Cyclops. The question. Yeah, people are often exaggerating. Exactly. Yes, it was good at the time that it came out and all of that, but some people can't let go of the past. They played something that was very good for that time in the past, but if you play it again, in, today's modern society with all the advances and everything and technology, it's not going to hit the same. When you're a kid and you don't know better, everything you see is a good and new experience. When you become an adult, it's like, nah, bruh. I can't believe I was that dumb kid that did that. You see things different. But people have their pride, and Zelda is Zelda. So even if they do feel that way, they'll still go through and replay the game and force themselves to go through. Some people do it for nostalgia and they can get that, but I can't. I'm like, yeah, I remember this. And yep. So problem with a Cyclops is how are you possibly going to fit a Cyclops in any of the indoor maps? The doors and all the nooks and crannies, or any doorway in Dead by Daylight, actually. How are you going to get him through doorways? How are you going to get him moving and all of this? How are you going to balance everything to be, balanced? Like, is he just going to be hunched over when you're inside of buildings making some crazy, weird looking attack animations? Or is he going to be the same size as everything else, but just shrunk down like a regular killer? Because if he is, this stuff is definitely going to have to change as well. I'm going to briefly go through this, but I'm not going to take it too seriously because obviously it's not going to work. But let's see, just for humor wise. The Cyclops is a giant humanoid with just one big eye. Yep. That carries around a big tree to smash down any survivor he finds. 5 meters per second always looks terrifying. It is terrifying, especially with the double attack reach. He's really tall, twice in plague. Twice in plague doesn't tell me anything. Plague is just a reskin of pretty much everything else. I mean, yeah, they have their own models and all of that, but they always go off a base humanoid model and then they add things based off of it. Twice in plague, let's say twice the size of a tall killer. So we're looking at like what, 6 feet around there, maybe a little bit more. Twice that would be like 12 feet. There's no way in hell you're going to be able to fit in any of the map being twice the size of plague. Tall killers barely clear doorways. They got maybe like a foot after clearing a doorway of space, if that. There's no way this Cyclops is going to be able to fit in any indoor maps. I bet Greeks would own Cyclops easily if they had flash. That's actually funny. Oops. Oh God, now I realize something from the past when I was a kid learning English. Oh no. Hopefully it's something good. I type flashlight. Oh, at least you were a kid and you didn't do that as an adult on something important. Because that would have been, ooh, oh man, ooh, why do I even remember it? Drama. You realize what the mistake is, and you have internalized it, so you'll never do that again. That's a rough one. Oh no. Oh no. So this Cyclops has a smaller FOV, and he's from a higher point of view. So he probably, probably has difficulty seeing people right in front of him. As with any other killer, they have difficulty seeing people right in front of them. Unless they're a small killer called FOV tech, since he's bigger. He's also faster than regular killers and has a further range of attack, though since he's so massive, he also takes longer to recuperate. He can walk through any places of the maps, but he needs to crouch little to pass doors. My dude, he's gonna be doing the limbo or crawling through doorways and being unable to stand up. Twice the size of the plague. Hang on. How tall is Plague? Dbd. I'd say she's around 6 feet. Plague is something. She's 8 feet tall. Holy sh! The Plague is 8 feet tall. There's no way she's 8 feet tall. Nah, bro. I gotta get a second opinion on that. There's no way. uh, yeah, still the teacher reaction got me curious, I would say. The tall lady, definitely. Imagine being a teacher and somebody putting that down and they just happen to keep a straight face and being like, ooh, that's funny. Lady Dimitrescu. I'm more worried about Lady Dimitrescu's fucking ass than her height, honestly. Her ass is like face level. I refuse. I don't have any type of second opinions that I can find just off the top. Showing her height. I refuse to believe that she's 8 feet tall. That's ridiculous. But if she does happen to be 8 feet tall, that's ooh, and he's twice that. That is 16 feet. There ain't no way he's fitting through there. It's gonna be more than a crouch. Like a vault for all purposes. He can also destroy breakable objects or damage gens just by attacking them. His numbers could go like this: 5 meters per second, double attack reach, but 50% slower attack recovery. Well, you can run the unrelenting force, which is what, like a 50% recovery rate reduction, and you would be doing a regular attack at double the range with no with regular recovery speed. Midwich, he would have to stand in the middle of the map and he would just be hitting you through walls. It would turn into a completely different game. He would just be swinging through walls at people. That would be hilarious. Vaulting slash entering doors 20% slower. Oh my. I guess if you do get Midwich with him, it's kind of a free win, huh? And instead of just leaving it at this and making that his power and all of that, they actually went through and gave him an actual power to go on top of all of this. This killer don't need power. His power is these huge double attack reach, super speed, things like that. He don't need any more additional powers. Terror Gaze. Also, if this is a gaze, this would make him a Gorgon instead of a Cyclops, correct? I think that is the correct term, is Gorgon. The Cyclops that gaze has a different term. The actual terror gaze that they have, that's a completely different beast than a regular Cyclops. It might not be a Gorgon. The word Gorgon is what comes to mind, though, so it's not actually a Cyclops in this case. Hold down the power button to activate Terror Gaze. While in this state, you can't move, but any survivor you can see gets progressively terrified. When a survivor crosses sight with you, they get terrified. If they do so while you're using Terror Gaze. You just said the same thing twice. You sound like me doing a Dead by Daylight review. They get terrified faster 3 times, but they also get slowly terrified if they cross sights with you, even if you're not using the power. Terrified, a blue effect clogs. Clogs? Clogs your peripheral vision. Anytime you have to pass a skill check, instead 2 skill checks pop up, but only one of them will be true. So you're just going to get 2 random skill checks that look the same, and you have a 50% chance of hitting the correct one. You're going to need to have some sort of distinction in between them. One's going to have to be shorter than the other one. One's going to have to be a different color or something like that to distinguish between the two, or that's just unfair. Your breathing will get heavier, and you'll get a mini terror effect with a heart sound constantly pumping. Terrified can be removed by another survivor comforting you while outside the terror radius for 4 seconds. 4 seconds worth of butt touches, and you're fine. Once comforted, terrified will be removed, but the buildup will stay at 50% and regress slowly down to 0, unless some effect brings it up again for a guy. Perks ought to be interesting. Oh, it's like 2, and then there's like the big perk. Juggernaut. Juggernaut is not a Cyclops, son, but okay. Whenever you break a pallet by any means, aka with this killer, anytime you do an attack, you're basically going to be hitting a pallet. You get a 5% haste effect that lingers for 5 seconds with a 40-second cooldown. Do you really need any more speed there? You're already moving at 5 meters per second. 5% would be an extra 0.25, so you'd be moving at 5.25 meters per second for 5 seconds. That's crazy. Scorch hook, soul burn. What did Cyclops don't soul burn as far as I know. But anyway, whenever you hook a survivor on a Scorch hook, you get a special ability. Next time you damage a generator in the next 30 seconds, it'll be cursed for 50 seconds. Okay, anytime a survivor touches the curse generator, they will get the distraught for 40 seconds. So there's only 2 perks. Distraught has to deal with this second perk, so we're missing a third perk. Whenever you engage in an activity that can trigger skill checks, continuous skill checks will trigger. See, that's not very good with Sadako coming out with something like that. With a 50% chance of them being hard skill checks. Hard skill checks are still very easy skill checks. Oh no, this is a perk. They just done the weird here and didn't separate this properly and change the fonts and all that. Hasty Flesh. Whenever you down a survivor with the basic attack, you get a token, you get these benefits. 1 token, basic attack and recovery is 5% faster. There is no limit to this, by the way, so as long as you keep downing survivors with basic attacks, you can stack this forever. So, in actuality, if you run Unrelenting Force that reduces your cooldown back to a regular cooldown, you can just continue to down survivors with basic attacks until you get an instantaneous attack, like when you have, what is it, Mad Grit or whatever, where there's no cooldown. And you could just literally just doop, 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 doop. If you push past that, you can literally just hold the button and you would have non-stop swings forever. Just and you would be like a freight train just going through. This is why we put limits on things like that. Three tokens. Your tear radius is increased by 12 meters. Why would you ever want your tear radius being increased by 12 meters? Ever. This should just be put as a negative up here towards the top. And you should have something else there. But why go 1, 3, 5, 6? That is so odd to do. Why not just 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 like every other perk? Or even keep it 1, 2, 3, 4. You'd probably want to do 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Move this out, move that up, and then do everything else. 5 tokens. Survivors inside your tear radius will shiver in terror, producing a subtle yet continuous rattling sound. Like a woodpecker. 6 tokens. Your volt 50% faster volt speed? What do you mean? I mean, it becomes regular volt speed, but that's insane just from regular attacks. There's no limit, so from here you can get from 6 tokens to 7 tokens, 8 tokens, 9 tokens, 10 tokens, 11 tokens. You can just keep on going. There's no limit. It doesn't say that you ever lose set tokens in any shape, form, or way either, which is an oversight that most people miss, because you have to have some way to fight this particular perk, because once they get the tokens, they have them. So let's say everything's formulated, there's a 6 token max and all of that. There's a proper cooldown in between token gain, etc., etc. You know, this perk is just balanced 110% perfect. Minus the fact that there's no way to combat this perk. Once you get that regular hit down, you have this effect till the end of the game. So it generally takes 2 hits to down a survivor. With double the attack range and everything like that, you basically have a lunge attack on your basic attack. And then your lunge attack is just going to be disgusting with the distance and everything, especially if you run coup de grace, which is what most people are going to run with this because you have such a huge thing. Coup de grace, you're going to want unrelenting force and things like that to stack up these cooldowns to make you pretty much unstoppable. You're literally going to be a freight train running through the trial, just downing survivors. It's going to get to the point to where you don't even really need to see the survivor. You're just going to go to where you see a gen or hear a gen being worked on. You're going to turn a corner and swing, and somebody's going to get clapped by it. Survivor perks. Let's see if your survivor actually combats your killer in any type, form, way, anything like that. And let's see if your killer or your survivor is as broken as your killer is. Guarded by the gods. Whenever you take a protection hit, you gain a token. When you witch 3 tokens, anytime you get another protection hit, the killer gets a 5% slowed effect for 10 seconds. This is Metal of Man, except for you get a very crappy effect. Like, very, very crappy effect off of that third hit. Like I said, this should be a counter for your particular killer. A 5% slowdown on your killer, who gets a bonus, by the way, to 5.25, meters per second after getting the hits and all of that. It's not really that much of a combatant for them. Andy. Okay, we went from the Dark Nut to Handy. I mean, like, come on, man. Like, this has gotta be planned. If you fully consume a toolbox when repairing a generator, Handy activates for 30 seconds. You can press the active power button to seal that generator for 5 seconds. By seal, I assume you mean by block. A block generator cannot regress below the level you repaired by any means. This removes your toolbox from the game. This perk can only be used once per trial. Why? 5 seconds of a generator being blocked. What does that accomplish? And how does this combat this particular killer? I mean, I understand the generator perks and all of that, and any time that the generator gets hurt by any means, things happening. But it's only a 5-second block. I don't understand what you're going to accomplish in that 5 seconds. And then Fearless. Killer effects are 15% less effective on you. Hair/madness takes longer to build up. Ravens are easier to disperse. You can avoid mutagen virus infection 15% of the time, and so on. You have gone way out in the left field. You need to extend this and list every type of situation this perk can come into effect on things. Just saying killer effects are 15% less effective doesn't help anybody understand what's going on in your brain up there. A new map, Arena of the Gods. Obviously, it's going to have to be a huge map so that the actual Cyclops can run through. That's going to be a very boring map because it's going to have to be very spacious, very out in the open, have no buildings. So I don't know what they're going to do with the kill shack and all of that because, well, it's going to turn into a game of literal cat and mouse. Survivors are going to be inside kill shack and any other buildings that are on the map so the Cyclops can't get them. And if the Cyclops tries to go inside that building, he goes in 50% slower till he gets those tokens. So it's just gonna be a huge literal cat and mouse game. Well, not literally, literally. Okay. No, you've got too many posts back to back, even though one's an add-on and one's sweet revenge. Put it in one post, guy. Community effort, iridescent offering ideas. I've seen this in the past. It says 7 new. Alright, whole new brainstorm then. This is good. It's helping me out. Alright, well, he's doing things. And, yeah. I'm not gonna comment on this, like taking the petrified oak to an iridescent oak add-on and all of that. I'm not gonna really comment on that because I mean, the only thing I could say for balance wise and to prevent exploiting is whatever you want and try to do, times it by 4 for gank squads and survivor bully squads and things like that. Like his iridescent add-on, he wanted to increase each hook 6 meters apart from each other. 6 meters is huge, and if 4 survivors play that, each hook's going to be 24 meters from each other. A killer moving at 4.6, I mean, it's going to take an extra, what, like 5 seconds? Or something like that. Roundabouts. 5 seconds. To cover that extra distance. You only get 16. So having survivors with, med kits and other perks like breakdown and toolboxes and sabotage perks with flashlights and everything like that is going to be an extremely huge pain in the butt for any killer that comes across that type of situation. Also, you have to keep in mind that Dead by Daylight, you can pick up a almost unlimited amount of add-ons in your perk tree once you've hit level 50, because you can just keep going and keep going and keep going, especially if you're prestige 3 level 50. You'll just keep getting iridescent add-ons on iridescent add-ons on iridescent add-ons. Dummy tech or just dumb tech? The actual dumb tech is the actual dumb tech. That's actually a kind of a funny animation where you pop that on them, you go across, and this is what should actually happen, or they should actually catch you. Pretty funny. I like that. That was a pretty funny thing. I don't know why they used the spirit, the great demonetizer, but funny. Yeah, we had a couple more. I could probably do like one more. Please do bones. How about belly of the entity? Why the belly of the entity? The entity is supposed to be the being and everything. The great demonetizer. Yeah. Once you've had a video demonetized by the spirit because the camera zooms into her butt or gets a chest camera view or something like that, every time you run across the spirit, you gotta make sure, when you get downed, you gotta look away. Something like that, or that demonetization's coming for you. I thought that was a joke. I actually ran across the spirit in one of my Dead by Daylight videos that never seen the light of day. because when I sent it out, it became age restricted. And I was like, every other Dead by Daylight video that I've put out's never been age restricted. I go back in, I look through the video, I start censoring myself and all the cuss words that I'm saying, thinking that's the issue. Still age restricted. Go back in again. I'm looking, and I'm looking, and I'm looking, and I just can't figure out why my video is age restricted. Because all the other Dead by Daylight stuff, is fair game. There was no Maury's, there was no anything else that happened. I get on YouTube, confused, because I'm like, I'm not putting out this video that's age restricted because something's going on. Go through, I'm looking at other YouTube channels, things like that, about this, what's going on, etc., etc. I come across the fact that the spirit, if you get a good clip of her butt or get a good clip of her chest or something like that, when she downs you or if you're playing her, it like zooms into her butt. Sometimes the camera messes up and goes all up inside there. You'll get age restricted or even worse, demonetized for it. And I'm like, really? I feel bad for spirit mains because half your videos are gonna get demonetized if the camera just somehow captures that perfect booty shot. Like, I'm like, come on, man. Everybody knows that's not meant to be sexual. Only like a 10-year-old's gonna literally stop the video and be like, oh, I see boobies. Like, no. Like, come on now, get out of there. Not meant to be pornographic. There's no reason to age restrict it. And as I started looking that up, I found more and more videos of people saying that the spirit's been demonetizing their videos and age restricting their videos. And I'm just like, anytime you run into a spirit, it's just like, man, I gotta do so much extra crap. I'm gonna have to pay my editor to cut out any type of booty shots or chest shots or anything else. It makes you come to terms with what the world's come to nowadays. When a video game character being put on screen is overly sexualized to where you lose monetization or your video gets age restricted for it. Feels bad. We'll go Trickster Power rework because I think this is going to be funny. He starts with 4 knives, with the first knife that hits a survivor being a marker knife that deep wounds survivors but doesn't injure. But then you're going to have an add-on that makes it actually injure, or worse. After hitting a survivor with this non-ricocheting marker knife, every knife after that can injure or down a survivor, depending on the condition of that survivor. These knives can bounce 3 times. He needs to bounce the knife at least once before impact to injure a healthy survivor. To down a survivor with the knives, 3 conditions must be met. 1, they must be marked. 2, they need to be injured. And 3, the knife must bounce off at least 2 surfaces before hitting a survivor. What kind of convoluted... Oh boy. It's the trickster, not the trick shot. A survivor is unmarked when they successfully mend themselves or the trickster hits a different survivor with their marker knife. There is a 1-second cooldown between knife throws and no slowdown from holding the knife, only throwing the knife. Main event activates per usual, but instead of many knives, it gives him a marker knife that removes 1 health state from survivors. And if bounced off a single surface, insta-downs. The knife can ricochet up to 3 times. Add-ons. For the most part, I'll leave any necessary rework of add-ons up to the You lazy SOB. I have a few suggestions for the iridescent changes. Death throws compilation marking a survivor is no longer necessary to injure them. Main event only refills your current knives instead of its usual effect. Iridescent photo card increases the available marker knives when entering main event by 1 and decreases available knives outside of main event by the same value. This is terrible. Who do you know is going to take the time? Actually, cut that. Who do you know is going to have the power to scare a survivor into a zone where you can get knife ricochets? Because the only way to down a survivor is if the knife bounces off of something. So what if they're just standing in the middle of a field, just kind of trotting along? They're avoiding loops and just using pallets as they come up to them. Because you're really much a mouse one killer until the survivor decides they want to enter a loop. What if the survivor just runs you on ultra wide loops that thank you, Allison. Thank you. But what if they run you ultra wide loops or infinite loops that go from one side of the map to the other side of the map and don't necessarily walk inside of buildings and all of that, like Kill Shack, where they can be easily popped by one of your knives? 2, you have to be very good or very lucky with your bounces, because they can only bounce up to 3 times. So you're going to have to get some weird angle, and it has to bounce off the wall, what was it, twice before they can down a survivor? So if a survivor literally just jumps in front of your knife and takes a hit, they don't even have to worry about that. So it actually benefits the survivor to actually walk in front of your knives before they can get the 2 bounces and all of that other stuff. So you're going to have a survivor that, as they're getting chased and running through loops that are going to be literally jumping in front of your knives so they won't go down, and still running regular loops, running you out through, open areas and all of that where they can easily counter you. And it's going to be an interesting display for anybody that learns how to get these trick shots. Now, what you could have done is you could have left the trickster stuff alone and made it an add-on to where knives can bounce off of objects and still hurt survivors. That would be cool, because his accuracy and his throws aren't very good. But if he hits something, or he's, a survivor jumps through a window and the trickster's just throwing knives randomly inside of that window, to have knives being able to bounce and still hit survivors, that's a strong add-on. But instead of taking the easy way out, you just tried to rework the entire trickster's power and essentially broke it. Yeah, only pure masochists would play that. Pretty awful skill floor reward ratio. It's just Huntress with extra steps. That is something that I thought at the beginning, is it was just a Huntress's hatchet, but then he started going into a specific kind of world that I don't want to be part of. Alright, that is going to be it for the day. I am still awaiting my VR set. I got everything else. I got the cord, I have the software and everything downloaded. I made a Facebook account and all of that to associate the two together, etc., etc. Well, I made an Oculus account to associate the two together and all of that. I just need the device itself. And some way apparently to buy the game that I wanted to play. So hopefully this will all be situated by tomorrow, possibly later on today, so I can go ahead and just hop on, get everything set up, and start playing. Either way, as always, supplement your lifestyle, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for stopping by, Galanonim. As always, peace.